Hey, everybody. I don't know what the weather's like where you are. And it's funny to say that because in Virginia, we never have exciting weather. It's like pretty much the same, pretty mild all the time. Oh, we had snow today and we actually got snow. So I'm in my comfy because part of sharing your story, which we'll get more into, is being who you are and making sure you do it in a way that is consistent. So while Tracy might not wear a comfy when she is teaching a class, I would. So I am tonight. And I know that sounds really random, but for me, I really had in my head today all day long that our story is who we are, and who we are tells other people a lot about what it would be like to work with us. And we're inviting them on a journey with us. So that is how I want to open tonight. I am not at all the teacher or the star of this show. I am going to be handing it off to some lovely ladies that, along with our amazing Crown Diamond upline, attended. It was a virtual event because you know what? Life is a virtual event anymore. And I'm okay with that. You know why? Because we can be real whole people with real stories, even when we're behind a screen. So I want to just encourage you with that piece too, that this training is just like it would be if you were hearing people speak from a stage, or you're hearing people across a kitchen table. Us being on Zoom, please turn your cameras on if you can and connect the best you can. It's okay if you have to turn your camera off, if you need to pick your nose, if you need to chug your tea or your martini. We're not going to judge whatever you're doing from your comfort of your home or home office. We want to be with you in this. So a little bit of my story, just to give you a part of the world of storytelling. When I was in high school, I did all kinds of forensics competitions and I did storytelling. I did prose, I did duo, and it was all about the story that we picked and the character development and being in the moment of embracing who the character was, including what they liked, what they disliked, their pain points, which caused them to have a heartbreaking moment in their life, and their triumphs and how they were able to achieve victory. Something else is a relationship map. When I studied characters as a teenager, I made a relationship map of here's the character, here's Sally's mom, here's Sally's dad, here's Sally's neighbor, here's Sally's 18th cousin at the 14th level, here is Sally's crazy step cousin that story when she was little with her pigtails. Like, we did that because that would come out when you were telling the story, even if it was only through your emotions or the way you connected to someone else. So I want you to think about storytelling in your life. If it was formal or informal, how did you learn the art of story? Was it from a parent reading you stories and maybe they acted out the characters? Maybe they were Winnie the Pooh. Or was it maybe from you watching a story through an animated movie? Or did you have somebody in your life that maybe they sold you something, but you actually realized you became best friends with them because they were able to ask you questions and they got to know your story by sitting across the kitchen table from you or a phone call. So I want you to get that in your head. What do you think about the art of story? What are some things that pop in your mind? If you'll type in the comments, if you're listening to the replay, if you'll type below, I just want you to think in your mind, what is that framework where you have story? What does it involve? What does it look like for you? And is it something you're attracted to? That's a great way of thinking about it. Are you attracted to stories? In other words, like, do you love it when someone tells you a story? Or, and again, this is no judgment, it's all our own perception. Or when someone starts in a story, are you literally the person that's like, and 8 minutes in? Because we're all different and we all connect to different parts of that. And do you love characters? I'm not a TV person, but I'll tell you, I love to read books and I love the character development. Maybe you watch a Netflix series where you're like, I am in love with whatever the character's name is. And I bet you could list 10 qualities about that person as to why you love them. So all of this is just an introduction to wrapping our heads around why facts tell, stories sell. So cheesy, repeated over and over again in every single training. Here's the thing. Let me let you in on this, and then I am going to pass it off. I have told my story about Young Living a million times. 7 years ago, I was in a place where I really was interested in natural health. I was nursing my second baby, exclusively nursing. I'm also pumping at work. I was making preparations to start feeding him baby food, baby, like we need doing all kinds of prep for that. We cloth diapered. I made cleaners at home. We were pretty clean on our food, which has been a journey because I learned how unclean I was. I mean, really, like I thought I was really clean, taking supplements, kind of doing those things on the natural health train. My dad had a stroke, a really severe stroke where he was in the ICU for quite a while and in rehab. He got out of rehab, and the week after my dad got out of rehab, and the week after I ran a full marathon for some odd reason, I decided I could say yes to buying a kit. I bought a starter kit because I found online 3 people that sold Young Living essential oils because I had had an experience with a raindrop at this bed and breakfast where I was trapped because I was in a little tiny BMW, super fun. My husband and I, 3 kids, got trapped at a bed and breakfast before Airbnb. And we got trapped at it. And this lady was like, "Hey, I would love to give you a raindrop if you'll just get naked in my living room. Totally normal. Just lay there and I'll put some things on your body." I was like, yeah. Mhm. That's totally normal. But I have scoliosis pretty severely, about 60 degrees. So when she told me that, I told her, "Hey, I love massages. I can't really afford them." Hear that word, right? Can't really afford them, but like, cool. If it's like a massage, can my husband be in the room? Because at this point, I was like, this is weird. And so he was in there with me. I smelled like pizza forever. My Uggs totally smelled like pizza. I never again thought about Young Living, but I knew those bottles were Young Living. And I knew that I was taller and I stood straighter and I didn't have back pain for a while. But again, kind of forgot about it. So I finally remembered that I had heard of these Young Living essential oils, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want the other company I'd been researching. So I found 3 women that were all bloggers, and I messaged 2 of them on Facebook, which is so funny because another one of them is a cross line to Tracy, and she didn't respond to me right away. Tracy not only responded to me, but she had this really cool profile picture on Facebook. She had a hat and these really big shiny sunglasses, and they reflected like her in a bikini at the beach. And then she had 3 boys, and I at the time only had 2 boys and 2 stepsons, but 2 boys close in age. And I was like, oh, I could see like we should be friends. She's way cooler than me, but I never want to be the smartest person in the room or the coolest. I want to surround myself with better people than me. So when I messaged her, she was like, "Hey, here's all the info. Here's how you start a business. Here's a $20 off voucher." And I was like, we are BFFs. She saved the voucher just for me. She's been stalking my blog too. That's non-existent. We are amazing. So I automatically was like, okay, well, this cool girl told me I could also share the oils and make money. So you're darn right. I will share them. I will make money. And in the first year, I was able to quit my job teaching. Crazy. We were able to adopt a baby we never expected. We were able to put in paperwork for my husband to retire from his job. It was like a miraculous, crazy story. But everything that happens in this business when we share is miraculous. So it really taught me to see the miracles of time and financial freedom in every single person. So I see it in each of you. And that's what it's about tonight. It's about owning who we are and owning what is to be and expecting not the same results from others, but expecting the extraordinary in their lives and expecting it to show up and knit us together even more in relationship and as a community. So I am not sure. I can look in our notes who I'm passing off to first. Maybe I'll just take a raised hand, but I thought Tracy. Okay, good. So I'm going to pass it off to Tracy and then have these amazing women guide us through exactly what to do, how to do it, and what they learned. Thanks, Tracy.
Actually, I think Allison was going to go first. That's okay.
Just kidding. I thought you raised your hand. Just kidding. We will pass it on to Allison first.
It's all good. So part of my story is I'm super real, and that is something that would happen in my life. Like it would be confusing and then we'd get back on track. So it's perfect for me. I am so excited to talk about this subject with y'all. Because it's so great. And I'll be honest, I used to be kind of scared to share my story, especially the business one, because I don't know about you. Is there anybody that has ever been concerned that their story isn't maybe that story that's really going to touch people? So if that's you, I'd like you to type it in the comments like, yep, that's me, sister, or raise your hand or whatnot, because I feel like there's like a ton of people. And if it's not you, I bet you somebody on your team feels that their story is not worthy of sharing. So I am here this is my favorite takeaway from the GoPro event that we went with Tracy, Michelle, Tracy, a few other people, and Carmen. that we took, they were talking a lot about the story, and some of that information is what we're going to talk about today. What I want to focus on is just that. I will forever remember what they said. I don't know who said it, to be honest, because I don't remember those details, but they said that your story, I have a story to tell, and that story will change lives. So I want you to write that down somewhere, especially if you're someone that raised your hand, or at least put it in your Rolodex in your brain. If you don't know what a Rolodex is, I just dated myself, but that's okay. Put it in your brain to share with somebody that might be having trouble with that. I have a story to tell, and it will change lives, because it is just that. Each and every one of you have a story to share. It is a story that will resonate with somebody. Somebody will love that story. Somebody will have a Me Too moment for that story, and then you'll have a new member. And then they will share their story, and they will have a new member. So it's very important to not fall into the bubble of that story is not amazing. Or maybe, in my first year of business, I did not escalate to being able to do everything that Ashley did, because Ashley is a different story than mine. It's not a compare story. It's not my story isn't bad. My story isn't anything other than my story, and my story will resonate with others. So her story will resonate with others. My story will resonate with others, but it's no need to ever compare. And I think sometimes that gets really tricky in our brains, right? So we have to continue to tell us. So I wrote it down, and I have it everywhere. I have a story to share, and it will change lives. So the other thing that I want to have as a takeaway, and then I'll tell you my story, which I probably should have done in the beginning, but I get super passionate and just talk, is never apologize for your story. Anybody else? Like, oh, again, it kind of comes to the same thing, that you may not think your story is good enough. But again, your story is your story, and your story is the reason why you share oils. It needs to be told. It needs to be shared. It needs to be yelled out, like in Instagram, in real life, in in-person events, if we ever have them again, with your neighbor, your family, your friend. It needs to be shared, and never apologize for your story. I think sometimes it's easy to go down that rabbit hole, and I'll be honest, I think it's easier to go down that rabbit hole for business stories, because we all want that like story of how we like go from here to the end super quick with none of the ups and downs in between. But that is the story that will resonate with people. So if you have a business story that it goes up and down, and maybe you're not necessarily at your goal, share it, but share it with some of the techniques that Carmen is going to chat with, because that's the part that changes it. It no longer becomes maybe a complaining story. It becomes a changing, resonating story. So for that, I will share my story, because my story is different than Ashley's. But Ashley's a big part of my story because she happens to be my enroller. I am a physical therapist by trade. So I like medicine, but I don't love medicine, if you get me. So I was a little bit skeptic, but never really wanted to choose the route of medicine, but also was skeptic of this other road. So Ashley started doing her oils, and we know each other because our husbands were stationed together one time. We met one time and then became friends in social media world. And she added me to her Healthy in a Hurry oils group, and I stayed because I'm too kind to get out. And then honest, I'm just being honest. And then I saw her post about oils, and I was intrigued because I was like, okay, all right, but they're not for me. You do you. I'm okay. Then I started complaining on Facebook. We all have that friend, right? Those are your people. But nicely. And she would just comment like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you moved to Hawaii when you have a baby, or you're running. This is what I do when we run. Would you be interested in getting a kit? No, not right now. Or I don't even think I was that polite. I think I just said no. Okay. She responded multiple times. I had two babies under 2, moved to Hawaii, deployed husband, had a baby by myself, no job. So I lost like everything that was me. So I went down a very sad rabbit hole of sad feelings, not great postpartum journey. And Ashley was like, listen, I think these will really help you. And at that point I was at the like, Okay. She threw in like gentle babies, I think. And I was like, okay, I'm in. So it was a book that did it. I don't even know. But I said yes. I got the kit and I dove right in because I just was like, I'll do this, whatever. I paid. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I put Stress Away on, and I literally was a changed person. Solo parenting. I put peace and calming in my 1.5-year-old's diffuser so he would go to sleep so I could deal with the baby. I put it in the baby's diffuser. So then, oh my gosh, my colicky baby slept. Like, it was just amazing. And at that point, I was like, okay. Then she was like, do you want to host a class? No, thank you. I'm good. I'm a physical therapist. I got this. I don't have a job right now, but that's fine. But then I wanted oils, but I didn't have enough. Wasn't having an income. And I felt bad about getting oils or something for me because I wasn't contributing. So then I still wasn't staying in the business. And then I had a moment where I needed a job to get my kids into daycare. But I didn't have a job because I couldn't get a job because my kids weren't in daycare and I didn't know anybody. So I had this moment and she was like, why don't you just host a class? I'll be your sponsor. It'll be fine. You got this. Young Living will work as your job. So I told the daycare professor that our daycare person that I was a Young Living rep and I would be planning on making this much money in 4 months. And she was like, okay, kids are in. So then I taught a class because I'm not a jerk and I'm not immoral. I don't even know what the word is, unethical. I taught a class. I got like 2 signups because my friends trusted me and they wanted the oils. And they are still members to this day. We do the business together. And at that point, my sponsor and Ashley and the class changed my life. And then I kept doing the business because I wanted my oils paid for. I got a physical therapy job. I continued to do it. I don't have to be a physical therapist as much as I used to because of this job. I got a Peloton bike because of this job. I have a Disney vacation club because of this job. I still work because I want to, but that's me. So that's my story. So even though it's completely different than Ashley's and probably Tracy's and yours, it's a story and someone will resonate that because somebody will still want to have a career, a trade that they did, but they will also want a fun account or they may not want to do it as much. So that's why I need to be more upfront with telling that story and not be ashamed of it or sad or apologize because again, I'll leave you with this. I have a story to tell and that story will change lives. So thank you for my rant. I love talking about this and I will pass it off to the next person who is Tracy. All right.
That was so good, Allison. And she's talking about your story and how important it is. And what we learned really was it really is key to relating and pulling people into your journey so that they feel those pain points. Like she was saying, she's going to relate to somebody differently than Ashley. And your audience, whomever you're speaking with, is going to have those Me Too moments. So you need to feel your pain points and not apologize, like Allison was saying. You need to feel them so that your audience can feel it right along with you and that you're taking them on your journey with you. But the pivot on that is you really need to know your audience and where they're coming from. It's really important so that they can relate to you. Your before needs to match your audience. So if you don't know who you're speaking with, you need to know if it's stressed out moms or executives or in debt and burned out people, men, pet parents. It makes a difference on how you're going to talk and relate to them. And you don't need to make anything up, but if you kind of know who you're talking to, you can change your story a little bit and keep it authentic and you. The after has to be about their dreams and aspirations. So if they're feeling your Me Too, then you're pulling in, oh my goodness, I can too. I can work if I want to, or I can stay home, or I can use these oils to help my kids sleep. However that's going to relate. They'll do anything to get to that pivot if you reach them with that before and after. So you really need to take time. Take some time. It's like homework, and think about how you can develop your story so that you feel it and so your audience will feel it. And how, if especially if you know ahead of time, if you can know who your audience is ahead of time, then you can kind of tweak your story a little bit so that they can relate. Because if you're talking to a bunch of board members, they're not going to relate to these stay-at-home moms necessarily, or talking about pets. So you kind of have to know where you're going, and then that kind of helps you have an arsenal. So if you kind of sit down, think about, and write your story down from different angles, and it can be, it's helped my kids sleep, or it's helped my pets get to the vet without being stressed out, or whatever that might be. But if you have different little sub stories, and then you practice them, then you're going to be comfortable and confident, and that's going to reach your audience. And a good way another way you can do is just to record yourself, because it's very awkward when you see yourself on video oftentimes, but the more you do it and watch, you're going to be more comfortable. You can also practice in front of trusted family or friends, and all of these tactics. And the more you do it, and the more you're thinking it in your head, and maybe reading it out loud, just to yourself or your pet, if you want to, you're going to be more confident and more comfortable, and be able to relay your story better. And like Allison was saying, even if you don't feel like you have a story, why you got started is very relevant, and somebody is going to relate to that. You're going to reach someone. So it could be, I just wanted to stop using candles. Someone told me about the toxins in candles, or I just wanted my kid to sleep, or I just was feeling so stressed out. I needed stress away. Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be huge, and you can grow from there. And the more you use your oils, and that's part of your story, as you're telling people about it, you need to be using your oils and all of Young Living products, like the supplements and all that, so you have stories, and that's how you can build your stories and how it grows. But in the beginning especially, or even as you're going along, you can also use like a third party. So I could use Allison or Ashley or Tracy or Michelle or anybody, Carmen, and just say, I know my friend Carmen did this and it worked. And you can just really tell her story, and edify her to them so that they feel confident. And then the more, like I said, the more you use it and the more you use your products, you will develop that arsenal and start seeing results from everything, especially when you start using your supplements and your Ningxia and all of that. And just remember, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that's by Maya Angelou. And when you're telling your story, just try and really feel your pain point, and bring them along with you on your journey. So I don't know if we have time for all of us to tell our stories. Tracy, do you want us to all tell our stories? Do you want us to? Okay. So mine was, I'm actually a nurse, and was getting tired of the medical field. I fully believe in medicine. Don't get me wrong there. If you need it, use it. However, I was getting tired of, here, have a pill, and then here, have a pill for the side effects of this other pill we're giving you, versus trying to really get to the root of the problem. That's where I really think that Eastern and Western medicine can help each other. But, and my son has pretty significant medical issues and disabilities, and we were having a particular issue with his skin, and trying all the medical things, and nothing was working. And then I was introduced by my sponsor. She gave me a sample and said, here, just try this. And it worked. And I was like, okay, you have my attention. I've always been open-minded, growing up in a alternative health, but got away from that in the medical field. So this was just really opened the door. And we used that. We actually used it on his dog skin first, and then Ryan. And it made such a difference. And that's when I went to a class and got the kits, and then really started going down the rabbit hole of toxins, because I had no idea what we were using. So I've become really passionate about knowing what you're putting on and in your body and what's in your home, and being the gatekeeper of your home. I had no idea when I started. So that's why just using and listening and learning helped me go learn all this other stuff that's helped our health tremendously. And it's just taken off from there. And I think people can see and they know in your passion when they see that you're being authentic and that you want to help them versus being salesy, which is what a lot of people worry about in their story. So I'm going to move on from there because I don't want to take up all the time, but I'm going to pass it on to Michelle, I believe.
Actually, it's going to be Carmen.
It's me.
See, this is real life.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Carmen Iris, and I'm so happy and honored to be here with you to share with you about what I learned from GoPro about telling my story. So they were before the training of GoPro, I was like, I knew how to tell my story, but going to this training, it helped me to understand that we have just like a time limit to actually connect with the person and to tell your story and to master your story and make it like more relatable to them. And so that's what I'm gonna share with you. And so if you want some, the formula, so have your pen and paper with you because I'm gonna spill it to you right now. So a great story has 3 parts. And the first one is, they call it as the before, the pivot, and the now. So I'm going to use my story as an example so we can go along with it. And but for the before is when the reason why you started using essential oils and that you became part of Young Living. So that is the struggle. What drawn you to this company? What drawn you to use a natural alternative? So that is the before. So for me, they say that you can have 3 characteristics for it, but if you only have one story, that it was only one reason, let's say that you had problems like constant migraines in your life, and they do not let you function properly or be present with at home with your family and children. So that is your story there. And so within time and your journey, you're going to create new stories. So that is why that within time you will be like learning them. But I think that the reason why it drawn you to the natural alternatives is the beauty of all of them. So for me, it was that I was diagnosed with autoimmune diseases, and I did not have any idea of this in my life. I had all these symptoms, but for me, it was normal for me. And I was living my life since I was teenager. I was having issues, but my mom was taking care of me. So I said, okay, so this is normal because she knows, but nothing was happening, or the doctor was like actually identifying these symptoms for me. So anyways, and so that was one of my struggles. And when I got that diagnosis, I started understanding that all the problems that I was having within my health were they were linked to this problem. And so it was like having like dry skin. I was also having like recurring common colds, and every other month I was always at the doctor's office asking for the antibiotic to get rid of a sinusitis. So it was horrible. So for me, this was what it makes me to go and find a natural alternative. And it was my before. This is my part. My before struggle is this. And so what did I do? So my doctor told me that, well, okay, so what you have to do is to start helping your body to feel better. Whatever you put in your mouth is what is how your body's going to feel and look. And so I needed to start eating better, eliminating foods that were like, like causing me all these troubles like inflammation and pain in my joints and things like that. And so my pivot time that we're passing now to the second part of your story is that I needed to change my lifestyle, and I needed to find natural ways and then better ways for me to support my body. So let me stop here. I forgot something from the part one. And so this in the before part, this is the time that you're going to share that struggle, so you can invest time there in telling your story. So it's a maximum of 3 minutes. And I wanted to go back to this because when we were breakdown in groups to practice this, I was one of the people that tried to to do it, and I went over the time, and they were saying, okay, Carmen, what you were telling us, it was interesting and we were following you, but it's too long and you're saying too much. So I was like, okay. So that helped me to then to not fix it, but to concentrate on one specific struggle. All right, so now we can go back to pivot. And so and in this part, so you only can talk a bit about maybe around 30 seconds to 1 minute to tell them, what do you do to help with your struggle. So this is when it comes like a friend of mine shared with me about essential oils. Essential oils have complemented my nutrition. So I'm using my example. It has complemented and it has helped me to replace all the products in my home that taking toxic products out of my home and bringing plant-based products that helps to support my immune system, my respiratory system. So now you're going to move on to the third part of your story. That is the now. How do you feel now? How these products, how Young Living products has impacted your wellness, has impacted your family, your home, to make that toxin-free home. So that is the beauty of it, because this is where you're going to unveil to them the solution. And you're going to take time here also to tell them how you did it. And so you say, okay, so I used to have joint pain in the past, but now because I target the nutrition, I started supporting my immune system. My body feels better. I can move easier. I can go outside and play with my kids. And now that I used to have chronic migraines, but now I feel better because my levels of stress are lower because I can balance my emotions. I can support my body with relaxation when I diffuse products in my the oils in my home, and I have eliminated the candles from my home that has a lot of toxin ingredients. So when you are explaining to them that the solution, and then here you're going to also tell them in a short amount of time. Why? Because it's something like mentally. For me, I see it like 3 minutes telling your struggle. So that is like exhausting. They're going to be, oh my gosh, okay, girl, I got it. But then when you go with the pivot, right? Pivot, like Ross from Friends, pivot. So you're gonna go ahead and they're gonna say, oh, that was easy. That what she did, it was simple and simple. And then the now, they say, oh my gosh, boom, it's done, it's resolved. So they're gonna see it that your story is something that it goes from a struggle that is like a burden, and it was a quick fix in a way that it was easier to do it, and now you're having a better life. And here is when you're gonna show to them the future as well. You can then provide to them like, okay, now that I feel this way, I can do more and I can share with people as I'm doing to you. So that is what I learned from there. And I hope that this is enough for this part. And now Michelle, I believe. Yes, Michelle.
Right, it's my turn now. Thanks for being here, everyone. I'm going to kind of just sum up because they did a great job of giving you all the details of what we learned. And it was Pat Quinn who kind of shared this topic with us. And I thought, oh, this is great. Because I too was one of those in the beginning that felt like my story wasn't really that important. It wasn't going to make a difference because it wasn't all glam and fabulous. Like some people have these massive stories and these life changes. And yeah, what I learned is that's not true. Every one of us has a story and each of our stories matter. And you're impacting somebody. I promise you, the right person that is supposed to hear your story is going to hear it. So don't be afraid to share your story, because if you're keeping your mouth shut and you're not sharing it and you're not using your oils in front of people and talking about it, you're actually doing them a huge disservice, because we have something amazing to offer and to share with everybody. So if we don't share it, if we keep it to ourselves, we're really not serving. Same goes with your business story, like Allison mentioned. That was a part too that I think I wasn't comfortable sharing because I don't know, it just kind of felt weird to me to talk about money. That was just not something that you did with other people growing up. But again, I'm being selfish if I don't share this opportunity with other people. And it can be, whatever whatever they want to get out of it. I've learned not to put my thoughts of what I think they want onto other people. Share with them what's possible and then let them decide. So yeah, share your business story, share your personal story, because it does matter. And actually keeping it simple and not overcomplicating it is, the best thing to do. Doesn't have to be huge and elaborate. Just state the facts, share the different points of the story. So for me, that was helpful too, because I feel like when I start talking sometimes, my brain's going a million miles a minute, and then I've got like all these pieces, but they're not really organized. So it's nice to have that before or beginning, your pivot, which is your middle point. That's the turning point in your story. And then your ending or your now where you are here. So when you're thinking of writing your story, try and like write it out, write before, pivot, now, write those pieces down and like fill it in. And then do like Tracy said, practice it in front of a mirror or call a friend. We actually got to do this at the GoPro workshop, which I thought was so helpful. I seriously wanted to vomit when it was my turn to do it because we were doing it in front of these people we had never met before from all over the world. And I had to get on there and talk to these people. And it was so uncomfortable, but it actually was like my favorite part of the whole thing because it got me out of my comfort zone and it made me do it. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable and start by practicing with your friends. Grab somebody on this call and set up a time to get together and just practice your story. Do your little 3-minute story, your elevator speech, and see how it goes. And it's not as bad as you think it is. Trust me, I've learned that. But yeah, sharing, just be authentic, be yourself. It doesn't have to be salesy or anything weird. Because remember, your ordinary story is better than something extraordinary because more people can relate to that. So keep that in mind. And with that, I will share with you my ordinary story. So about 6 years ago, this is kind of what my life looked like. I was working full time. I'm an occupational therapist and I was working in the school system. I had just kind of made a change to that setting. I was having all kinds of health issues with my allergies and asthma. And it was to the point that it was out of control. I was seeing all the doctors on all the things and nothing was working for me. So I knew I had to have something better. And at the same time, my kids were younger, so they were getting sick all the time too. They would catch anything that was going around school. And I was having to call out of work all the time. I was actually waiting for them to fire me because I was having to miss so much work. Hey, the kid's sick again. I promise I'm not making this up. That was our life. That's what it looked like. So I had been doing research already on my own, just looking for some other options. And I knew I wanted oils. And I was so grateful when my neighbor, Alyssa, told me she was having a class. I'm like, oh, this is perfect because I was already looking it up, but I didn't know anybody to go to. So I went to her class, got my kit, and started using the oils. And what I did is I started ditching toxins. So I got rid of all those candles I had in my house, all the plugins, all the air fresheners. I started using candles. Started using diffusers and oils. And then I said, see, if you mess up in your story, who cares? You just mess up and keep going. We're human, right? Makes you more relatable. So we started using our diffuser and our oils. We switched our cleaning products to Thieves. And guess what happened? So it was probably about 6 months to, within the year later, it hit me. I was off of all the medications I was on for my issues. My kids hadn't been sick in like a year. I wasn't having to miss work and miss out on money. So it was a complete game changer for us and what it did for our health and wellness. And so it was just very eye-opening, and it led us down this whole path of, low tox living and getting those things out of our house. And for me, I love getting to share that with other people because I just know how just that one small thing of getting the starter kit completely changed how we do health and wellness in our home, and it's for the better. So I love that I get to help other people do that. So that's more my testimony to like more the physical, emotional side of things, and how it helped us. But then from the business standpoint, I get to make extra money with it. I actually quit my OT job. It hadn't replaced my income yet, but it gave me, at the time and place when I was so stressed out and so overwhelmed, it gave me an opportunity to quit and still have money coming in for my family for the things that we needed. And then it's continuing to grow. So that's great. So don't be afraid to share your story, whatever your story looks like, whatever it is, because your story matters to someone and someone else needs to hear it out there. Okay, that's it. Does anybody have anything else they wanted to share on the topic? Or any questions?
Ask some questions or practice your story. I mean, this is a great time for you to be, for anyone else on here, after hearing the advice and wisdom of these ladies, for you to go through and say, okay, like, I don't know what my story is. Here's the pieces of it. Like, I always say, what did your life look like? What does it look like now? And we can help you. I mean, anybody who wants to, it's a great practice to do it together. Because I'm so thankful for this wisdom. I was taking tons of notes. We can never learn enough about this. We just can't. It's so good for all of us.
I'll also say, oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Are you okay? I'll also say from the GoPro event, the one other thing that I took a bunch, but the two things that resonate was what we just talked about, and do something that is super fearful every single day. So do something that's super fearful every day. So I know there's some friends who might be fearful of this. So I say, face it, let's do it. And now I'm done.
Okay, I have a question. So I always tell my story. I started because I was looking for better cleaning products, and then I was cleaning with vinegar and it just wasn't doing the trick for my smell anymore. So I started with that, and then I feel like I switched. I bought the kit then because we knew we wanted to start a family. And then I always say that like I was afraid to use my kit. So I used lavender, and that was all I used. So like, how can I go into, I mean, is that right to start it with like my cleaning story? Like all I bought was the cleaner, and that was it. Then I got the kit, and then I feel like it's just transformed so many things. I have like a hard time picking, like, I don't have any big like health ahas or anything like that. I mean, like ordinary, kind of like you guys said. I do feel like it's helped. I don't like have like diagnosed anxiety or anything, but I have had what I think are panic attacks in the past, that I feel like have also transformed. So like, should I stick with, is it okay to start with like the cleaning stuff and go into the oils and everything, or is that too much? Or I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's too much. Honestly, you're probably the story that is like 75% of my team. Like you started with one thing and then you got nervous. So then you didn't use, I'm not even being like, didn't use it. You just used like lavender, and then you got back into it and you were using it. And then you found all these new loves. Like that is super inspiring because again, you showed that you were a little bit fearful. You showed us authenticness, you showed vulnerability, and cleaning is a huge thing, especially now, right? So I feel like that story will resonate with a lot. I had a chat thread, like somebody in my running group was like, I can't smell at the gym. Do you think it's the cleaning products? And we all were like, yeah. So your story will resonate with a lot of people right now, is what I'm saying. So I think it's a great place to start there. Somebody else can add some more if they'd like, but.
And I was going to say, you can even tailor it to whoever you're speaking to. So if you're speaking to a mom who's cleaning her house with bleach and all these other, yucky products, you can talk more on the cleaning topic. Or if you're talking to a mom who's super stressed out, or whoever your target audience is, who's super stressed out, you could talk about, how you started and you were using lavender, but then you notice all of a sudden that, you're less anxious and you're not having these, like panic attacks anymore. So you can even turn those few things into a couple stories, just depending on who your audience is and who you're talking to.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what when they say that it's very important that to listen to the person, so you would know exactly what they're looking for, what is their struggle, and if you do not have nothing that relates personally with their struggle, then you can use the third party testimony, that somebody that has that struggle that So that's why these calls that we do, that we learn, and like the underground calls, that people have so many stories, their testimonies. So maybe they have those struggles, but you learn from them and you can use them. And you can say, my friend had the same struggle as you, and this is what she did, and this is what it helped her. And now she feels this way and she has found this solution.
I have a similar situation as Melissa. Like when I started, I originally started because I wanted to get to keep my like newborn healthy. So I wanted to get some thieves and start with that. And like from then to now, I have had so many different wins, like digestion and anxiety, and like my daughter's rashes from cleaning products. So it's like I kind of get overwhelmed because I have a story, but then I feel like I have like 10 different stories. So I don't like, I guess I need to, do you guys think I should just write down like those stories? So when someone's like, hey, I have a rash, go to that story, and like, hey, this, and go to that story. Cause like, I don't want to overload them and tell them like everything because it's so amazing. So like, I want to keep it simple, but I'm just kind of like struggling with that.
Yeah, I would definitely write it down and then get to know, and ask them questions and kind of dig deeper as to what's going on with them. And then you'll be able to pull from there. But that's great not to overwhelm them, because I know I did that in the beginning because I want to tell them everything. Yeah, word vomiting. Exactly, Allison. So it's really good. I think that's great if you just write it down. And then, like I said, in that one part, you'll have an arsenal of stories that you can in turn say, okay, well, I know this helped with such and such, whether it's a tummy or stress or anxiety or whatever it might be. But that way you'll have it. And like Carmen said, like the oily undergrounds, and just listening in the community. A lot of times even in the Facebook groups, you'll see in the chats what people are using, and just pull. You can like take notes if you want to and say, yep, Sally Mae did this and it worked, if you haven't ever had success with it. But definitely keep your stories and written down and practice them.
I'll go next if nobody else is. So I struggle with my story because it's sort of like a long rambling story. At least the beginning portion. I used thieves and peace and calming for a long time. and the household cleaner. I was buying it from my sister who owns a spa, and she would do raindrop techniques at her spa. And she had a few products for sale, and we would buy them through her, my whole family. And I had no idea that you didn't have to buy it through a storefront or own a natural kind of business in order to sell them until I ran into a mom at a birthday party, and we somehow got on the topic of Thieves Household Cleaner. And she said that she bought it, used it all the time. And I was like, where do you get yours from? And she's like, I buy it directly. Like, I sell them. This is what one of the things that I do. I was like, do you own a spa? She's like, no, I'm a teacher. I'm like, what? So we kept in touch, and she told me about the Black Friday sale. And so I picked up some Thieves Household Cleaner because I needed some. And she added me to the Facebook group, and I followed the, 101 classes, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's a whole kit. And so like at Christmas time, another friend of mine was like, I'm going to get the kit. And I was like, okay, I'll get the kit too. So I got the kit, and then I found out there's this whole essential rewards thing and 1,000 other products. So I bought all of those. And a couple months later, I was like telling the rest of my family, did you know that our sister didn't ever tell us we could buy these directly? So now I have this whole team, and we're not under that sister, which also feels really awkward. But everyone in my family is now enrolled, and we've enrolled our friends and everybody else. But it's just like, I don't know how to shorten it down so that I'm not just rambling on. I didn't have like some health problem that I was targeting. I just felt like I wanted a more natural solution for things. So I don't have like that big aha moment. I just knew that what was available commercially wasn't what I wanted, I guess.
That's it right there. That's it. Because so many people are looking for that, especially now with everything going on, and you're seeing all the, people are bombarded with chemicals everywhere, and that's it. And so many people be like, oh, and you can show them how easy it is. It's a bottle of Thieves. It cleans everything. It's so simple. It makes your life easy. That's powerful in itself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could always, as you're using, like you said, you're using all these other products, you're going to start building, oh my gosh, Super Bee gave me so much energy, or, whatever, Nink Red, you're going to have all these stories building up, but that one is a great one to start with.
And again, I'll state, I said in the comments, I love your story. Your story is awesome and resonates with so many people that think they need to go through like one person, and that's obnoxious. I'm going to read my comment, but I mean, it's hard in this day and age to meet up with people to like get an oil, right? Like, you need to share more of that story, because people will understand like, oh, I don't have to go through that person. I can just get it myself. This is fantastic. So that right there is the shortened version. But again, that whole story is perfect. People love backstories. People love the like behind the scenes. We thrive on it. So that's important. And a lot of that other stuff that you were saying is just our brain telling our bodies and mind stupid stuff. Like, I'm just going to be point blank, because my brain does this too, and I have to shut it off. So again, your story is amazing. Share it. I love it. You have a fantastic team, and obviously they love your story too.
Many of them share that story because same family members.
Well, I have loved tonight, and I know you all have too. I want you to use your notes, and if anyone else wants to talk, we have a couple minutes left, but if not, I would encourage you to take the next few minutes or hour and start writing down some of your story. If you need to practice it, I love the idea of getting on a Zoom with a few friends. It's also great. Record a video of yourself and send it to a few friends. Like, just do it. And I think it's helpful to ask the question, what did you like most about it? What did you learn about me? I mean, those questions you don't want to ask people. Do you have any questions about my story? That's so weird, right? Because here's the thing. Of course they're going to have questions because you just told them to have questions. So they're going to be like, tell me again what month it was that you had that baby before you got the oils, where you also said you had a job or didn't have a job, because I knew you in May and you had a job. Like, you understand what happened? Like, it's your story. You don't need people to point out any parts of it that they might like want to fit themselves in. It is yours. It's a beautiful tapestry that you're knitting together, that you're inviting people on into. And someone said 90 seconds. It was so funny that they were always taught. So I was in a corporate job where we were taught to have a 30-second story and like a 3-minute story. So I still think like 30-second elevator speech is so much different than that pitch is so much different than the story where, right. I just saw Tracy write that. Yeah, 3 to 4 minutes. So we're not talking super short. We're talking details, and it's okay to have names. It's okay to name specifics because people want to, again, paint in a picture, beginning with the end in mind. And the end for the person when they're listening to you is they want to end with connection. So their end to you is they want to be connected to you, even if they don't resonate specifically with the details. They want to know you enough that they can be like, oh, I see her. I see a little of myself in her, but really I see her. Like, I see her, and I want to be friends with her. I want to get to know her. I want to be part of whatever she's doing. I love the phrase, I'll have what she's having. Like that, like, guys, that's what it is. Oh, Valor worked for Michelle. I'll have what she's having. Cool. I'm really excited. Carmen loves her Ningxia Red. I'll have what she's having. Like, you just get to this point where it resonates so much that you can't deny that you want to be united in that way with someone because of what they've shared. So thank you all tonight for sharing. Tracy has been so generously organizing this for us behind the scenes and also recording. So we'll have that recording to you soon, and can't wait to see how we all craft our stories and for it to propel us through this winter and into all of 2021. Thank you all.